and started into today's, and now my mic is rebelling against me. And yesterday, I went ahead and started into the Old Testament reading of May 14th, today's reading, about Saul disobeying God. And really, partial obedience is not obedience at all, it's disobedience. And not only that, what he did, okay, was rebellion against God. It was pride. You know, everything represented in Lucifer's fall from heaven seemed to be evident in the first king of Israel, Saul. He may have been tall and handsome, but when Samuel anointed him on behalf of God and gave him an instruction, he didn't have enough fear of God to follow it through. He only decided to obey the parts that, were beneficial to him. And God's response to him was pretty clear. Listen, obedience is better than sacrifice, and submission is better than offering of the fat of the rams. Rebellion is as sinful as witchcraft, and stubbornness as bad as worshiping idols. So because you have rejected the command of the command of the Lord, he has rejected you. Then Saul admitted to Samuel, okay, fine, yeah, I have sinned. I mean, up until then, all he did was make excuses. He blamed not killing all the animals and taking the best. First of all, he says, well, I'm going to do it. Oh, we did this for God, for sacrifice, lie. And then, oh, I didn't do that. The soldiers did that. And after he got the reprimand from God, then he decided to admit that he had sinned. I've disobeyed your instructions, the Lord's commands, for I was afraid of the people. I did what they demanded. Is that the truth? Well, what that means is he feared the people more than he feared God. Either way, bam. So Samuel replied, I will not go back with you. Since you have rejected the Lord's command, he's rejected you as the king. As Samuel turned to go, Saul tried to hold him back and tore the hem of his robe. And Samuel said to him, the Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today and has given it to somebody else, one whom is better than you. And he who is the glory of Israel will not lie and will not change his mind. And he is not human, for he should change his mind. And Saul pleaded again, I know I have sinned, but please at least honor me before the elders of the people and before Israel by coming back with me. Do you hear what he said? Oh, please don't, no. But hey, make me look good in front of the people. Would you at least do that? I might lose the throne. God might be mad at me, but hey, come and just make me look good in front of the people. Not getting it, just not getting it. It's not a matter of you look good before the people. What really matters is you look before God. Samuel then said, bring King Agag to me. Agag arrived full of hope, and as he thought, surely the worst is over, I have been spared. But Samuel said, as your sword has killed the sons of many mothers, now your mothers will be childless. And Samuel cut Agag to pieces before the Lord of Gilgal. Samuel made things right. All right? Correct. Now I'm going to move on. I'm going to jump ahead. Then but the Lord said to Samuel, don't judge by his... back. Yes, Samuel replied, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Purify yourself and come with me to the sacrifice. And Samuel performed a purification rite for Jesse and his sons and invited them to sacrifice too. Then they arrived. Samuel took look at Eliab and thought, surely this is the Lord's anointed. But the God said, nope. The Lord said to Samuel, don't judge by the appearance or the height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see things the way that men see them. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And then Jesse took the next son, Abinadab, and he told him to step forward and walk on Samuel. And Samuel said, oh, this is not the one the Lord had chosen. The next summoned Simea, and Samuel said, no, neither is this the one. The same way I went for all 7 of Samuel's sons. And Samuel said to Jesse, the Lord has not chosen any of these. Samuel said, are there any other sons you have? Well, they're still the youngest, Jesse said, right, but he's out in the field watching the sheep and the goats. Well, send for him at once, Samuel said. we will not sit down and eat until he arrives. So Jesse said to him, he was dark and handsome with beautiful eyes. And the Lord said, oh, this is the one, anoint him. So as David stood there among his brothers, Samuel took the flask of oil, olive oil, and he poured it and anointed David's head. And anointed him with the oil, and the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David from that day forward, and Samuel returned to Ramah. Now the Spirit of the Lord had left Saul, and the Lord sent a tormenting spirit that filled him with depression and fear. I'm going to read that to you again, because I mean, I'm still, I get things stuck in my craw, stuck in my head. And I know I have to turn them over to God, but listening to somebody that I felt was very revisionist with the story of Joseph and trying to explain away that God might have given him the interpretation of the dream, but he didn't give him the application, because God would never have set the stage for the Egyptians to be jealous of the Israelites, causing them to be in such severe slavery. And yet, many, many, many years before, God told Abraham that the day was going to come when he would deliver his children of Israel from Egypt, because they would be in slavery. God help us to try to rewrite the scriptures, or even try to interject a more humanistic 21st century interpretation, because by doing so, we're implying that we might understand God better than God does. All right? I mean, here is the God that we're talking about. Not only last reading that he told Saul, go kill all the Amalekites, men, women, children, babies, cows, sheep, goats, every last one. Kill them. And you're like, oh, God wouldn't do that. Oh, yeah, he would. And today we've learned, and so many times we've learned, if you don't, if they're your enemy and they're sworn enemies to you, I mean, there are people groups growing all over the world, even larger than our people group, that have sworn to kill or enslave every single one of our people group. Things haven't changed much from way back here, even today. And we can think they have. We can decide that our intellect has risen above humanity. It has not. And God knows that. And that's why we should put our trust in God and not our intellect or our humanity. All right? And so why would they kill the children? So that the children would grow up to take advantage of their parents. Oh, that's horrible. Well, maybe, but it's effective. So here's another effective thing that God did here, and it's God's command. And you can like it or you don't need to like it, but it's God and it's the Word and it's the truth, and you got to, there you go. Suck it up, buttercup. So not only did God take the Spirit of the Lord away from Saul, but a tormenting spirit from God is troubling you. A tormenting spirit was God. The Lord sent a tormenting spirit to fill him. Okay, with depression and fear. That was his punishment. Now poor post Jesus, I don't see that happening. Although Ananias and Sapphira, they got a little more than a tormenting spirit. They got dead. But God can do what God does, and when God does what he does it for a reason and a purpose that's higher than our understanding. That's why Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but in all, how much all thy ways? That means every way. Acknowledge him and he'll direct your path. It's not ours to figure out, it's ours to do what he says. It's called obedience, and it's what he requires from us. But I'll get back here. So the Spirit of the Lord had left Saul, and the Lord sent a tormenting. Who sent the Lord? Who? The Lord sent a tormenting spirit to fill him with depression and fear. And some of Saul's servants said to him, a tormenting spirit from God is troubling you. Let us find a good musician to play the harp, whenever the tormenting spirit troubles you, and he will play soothing music. I wonder who is really good at playing the lyre, the harp, and worshiping God. There's got to be somebody that's got a heart after God, that has a new anointing, and the Spirit of God is all over him. Maybe could it be? I think it's David. There we go. All right, Saul said, find someone who plays well and bring him here. One of the servants said, one of Jesse's son from Bethlehem is a talented harp player. Uh, Notice it's a harp. It's actually a lyre. It's more like a guitar. It certainly isn't a tambourine. It's not an accordion. But anyway, let's keep going. Not only that, he is a brave, because it's soothing. Not only that, he's a brave warrior, man of war, and he has good judgment. He is also a fine-looking young man, and the Lord is with him. So Saul sent messengers to Jesse and said, "Send me your son David the shepherd." Jesse responded by sending David to Saul along with a young goat and a donkey loaded with bread and wine, a wineskin full of wine. So David went up to Saul and began to serve him. Saul loved David very much, and David became his armor bearer. I didn't know that. I missed that. David was his armor bearer. So David already knew how heavy that armor was. But I digress. So then Saul sent word to Jesse asking, "Please let David remain as my servant, for I am very pleased with him." And whenever the tormenting spirit with God troubled Saul, David would play the harp and Saul would feel better and the tormenting spirit would go away. Interesting, interesting. You think maybe all of this was a part of God's plan? Well, I think it's crazy not to think that, because see, God's in charge of the plan over every man. Man's not in charge of the plan over God. John 8, 1 through 20, Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives, but early the next morning he was back again in the temple, and a crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and he taught them, and he was speaking. The teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught into an act of adultery, and they put him in front of the crowd. "Teacher," they said to Jesus, "this woman is caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says that we should stone her. What should you say?" Guess what they were trying to do? Trick him again. Can't trick Jesus. They were trying to trap him by saying something that they could use against him. But Jesus stood down and he wrote in the dust with his finger, and he kept demanding an answer. They did. So he stood up again and he said, "All right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone." Then he stooped down again and he wrote in the dust. I've heard so many sermons on this, and some people trying to figure out what he's writing in the dust. One that I liked, I just personally liked, don't know if it's true, but he said Jesus was writing in the dust the sins of those who were standing there, the religious leaders, the Pharisees. Could have been. I mean, but it didn't say that he took, 150 acres to write. Haha, but When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with a woman. Then Jesus stood up again and he said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Where are your accusers now? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" "No, oh Lord." And Jesus said, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." And Jesus spoke to the people once more, and he says, "I am the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness, because you have the light that leads to life." The Pharisees replied, "You are making those claims about yourself. Such testimony is not valid." And Jesus told them, "These claims are valid even though I made them about myself, for I know where I came from and where I am going, but you don't know this about me. You judge me by human standards, but I do not judge anyone. And if I did, my judgment would be correct in every respect, because I am not alone. The Father who sent me is with me. Your own law says that if two people agree on any such thing, their witness is effective, is accepted as fact. I am one witness, and my Father who sent me is the other." In other words, Dad and I agree, so end of story. "Where is your Father?" they replied, and Jesus answered, "Since you don't know who I am, you don't know who my Father is. If you knew me, you would also know my Father." Jesus made these statements while he was teaching in the section of the temple known as the treasury, but he was not arrested, because his time had not yet come. Psalms 100:1. The Lord said to my Lord, "Sit at the place of honor at my right hand until I humble your enemies, making them a footstool under your feet." The Lord will extend his powerful kingdom from Jerusalem, and you will rule over your enemies, and you are to go to war. Your people will serve you willingly. What is Psalms 110:1? It's a prophecy of Jesus given by David, foretelling that he would come. In Proverbs 15:8-10, the Lord detests the sacrifice of the wicked, and he delights in the prayers of the upright. The Lord detests in the ways of the wicked, but he loves those who pursue godliness. Whoever abandons the right path will be severely disciplined. Whoever hates correction will die. Now for something completely different. God's blessing over his word, and I pray that you will, what? Make it a lamp unto your feet, a light into your heart, or a light in your path, that you'll hide it in your heart, and that you will not sin against God. Hey, I love that you join me in reading the Word together. I love the Word more and more every day. It is truly the lamp unto our feet and the light on our path that guide us. And the more we hide it in our heart, the less we will sin against God. Because it's truth, and it guides us in all truth. His truth is written in the Word, and his truth is Jesus. And Jesus is the